Welcome back to Lucky Underdogs. I am Joe DeLeon. I'm not Devin Butler. I am filling in, but with me, former Notre Dame running back CJ Prosise. As always, CJ, Notre Dame's playing Pitt this weekend. Now, if
Mhm,
you look on paper, this game seems like an obvious win for Notre Dame. And Notre Dame looks great after the way that they played against USC. But I think you and I can agree. I'm a Notre Dame fan. I've seen plenty of these games. You've played in these games. It's a little bit of a rivalry. This Pitt
mhm.
Notre Dame game, it's not declared as one, but it's always a really tough, hard fought battle. Just from your experience, having to play against Pitt, what has this game always been like in your career?
Yeah, I mean, every time we play against Pitt, it's a dogfight. You know it's gonna be physical. You know that they're gonna come out to play. It's kind of like the Navy effect. Not as far as the offense. Obviously like the game plan wise, but it's like, if you let them stick around for up till halftime and let them think that they have a chance, then they'll have a chance. But if you come out early in the game, blow them out the water, and let them know that who we really are, then they'll usually kind of lay down for you. But really, every like you said, it is a rivalry game. Like for especially for the players, that the Pitt's going to come and play their hardest game, and so you got to come out and have your best game because just like any other team, like every other team they know they're going to be on national television, so they got a chance to come out here and try to make the NFL if they have a good game. So always if you're playing against Notre Dame, you'll get your best game.
Now, Notre Dame's coming off the bye week. They're coming out
Mhm.
of a situation where they played their best game of the season against USC. It's a big
Absolutely.
emotional. It's a big emotional output to play the way that they did against their biggest rival. You have a
Mhm.
week off, and we're turning around here to what was a trap game for Louisville, the team that beat Notre Dame. So a
Yeah.
little bit smelling of trouble here for this situation. It should be ideally being a home game, be a situation where Notre Dame blows past them. It's just another notch in the belt for them to show that they're building some consistency. But just from your opinion, being a Notre Dame player, having to come out of that bye week, maybe, and unlike most schools, a lot of guys do go home during that bye week. It's not like
Mhm.
guys are local to that area. How can you be best prepared after the bye week when facing off with a team like this?
I mean, I think most importantly, I think for the guys, it was just a much needed bye week. Playing 8 straight games,
Yeah.
going across the country. I mean, going across the world. Uh, going to Ireland and coming back. Having all these night games, all these emotional games against Ohio State, Duke, Louisville, USC, and then finally getting a break. So it's like it's definitely a sign of relief, for the players. Then they also had fall break as well, so they get to go home, see their families. Most of them probably haven't seen their families and since probably the end of beginning of July or maybe June, something like that. So just going home, just kind of relaxing for a couple of days is great. And then when you come back, like you're rejuvenated. You got 4 games left, and you're gonna finish the season strong. No matter what the record is at this point. As even for the guys who are the seniors or guys who are thinking about transferring, leaving, whatever. Like these 4 games are your chance to put something on tape, and now you're rejuvenated and you're ready to go for the next half of the season.
So Notre Dame's defense looked as dominant as they've been under Marcus Freeman's time leading them, even when he was a defensive coordinator. And then obviously last year, they looked really good. They turned a Heisman Trophy winning player into what felt like a pedestrian. It
Yeah.
made Caleb Williams look weak, which nobody has even done this entire year. Now, this is a completely different situation. They're going up against a guy who took over for Phil Dracovic halfway through the year, and they've had a couple other guys that have kind of jumped onto the scene. Sibo Flemister, former Notre
Yeah.
Dame running back, has been leading way for the Pitt Panthers offensively. What do you think that Notre Dame needs to do defensively to not so much beat Pitt, but maybe establish and build consistency so that they can string together multiple performances like the one that they had against USC?
Yeah, I think mostly I think Coach Freeman kind of says it a lot. He says kind of keeping it simple and not just like not as simple as firm terms as like just 5 play calls or whatever like this, but keeping it simple for the players so they understand what the game plan is and they know how to go out there and execute it. And I think that's what they did really well against USC. I think they understood that they got pressure on Caleb Williams. they would be able to make be able to make him, he would make mistakes and they would
Mm.
be able to make plays off of that. And I think they really understood that as a defense. And just off of what he happened last year too, is to like, them seeing like him, Caleb Williams just dices up from us not staying in our lanes, not staying in our, rush lanes and stuff like that. They learned from that. They learned from that experience as well. So just growing, growing into a system. The defense is definitely learning, they're learning a lot more under Al Golden for sure, in that system with Freeman as the head coach. Um, but just going forward with Pitt, I think it's the same thing as USC. Just have a clear, concise plan that everybody can understand. If that's stopping the run, that's stopping the run, and then we playing man on the outside. If that's zoning up, and then we kind of containing everything, keeping everything in front of us. That's what we got to do. But obviously, I think we're going to keep that pressure going from the defensive side. I would guess. We don't want to stop that because our obviously we have really good man coverage on the outside at corner, so we can hold up out there. So, with the plan, is same as always, is keep it simple and let the guys go out there and fly around and play.
Yeah, and I think that one big key, as we've kind of already said here, is just not allowing that last game be your best performance, not allowing that be and hang your hat on what you did against USC. And I also think we saw a defensive line that wasn't really getting home early on in the season start to really get in Caleb Williams' face. And they created sacks, but they more importantly created pressures that led to interception. Christian Villio, I might be mispronouncing that, is the guy who's been filling in for Phil Dracovic. And he's a young player. He's very inexperienced, unlike Phil Dracovic, the former Notre Dame quarterback, who's been around for a very, very long time. Villio is still getting acclimated to the game. So what you need to do defensively is what we know that they can do, is not take your foot off the pedal, go 100 miles an hour, keep pressuring quarterbacks that are going to get flustered easily, and watch the mistakes lead to points for you on the other end of things. And offensively, CJ, we know that this Notre Dame offense has not been great. And we know that what they did last game against USC wasn't exactly exciting. They were granted
Yeah,
a lot of opportunities where they were given short fields. They were thrown into a lot of spots where they were thrown in alley oops, and all they had to do was dunk it and get the ball in the hoop.
absolutely.
I think it's difficult to truly pinpoint what needs to be fixed, but against a weaker Pitt team that's still well coached defensively, what do you want to see from them in this game that might spark some optimism for the rest of the year?
I mean, yeah, I think obviously, I think the injuries at receiver has been kind of what's been kind of like inhibiting us from really getting to where we were starting the season. Um, but I think really for us to get back to being an explosive offense, I think we gotta make sure we gotta try to get that run game going consistently. And I think just using the stable of backs that we were using early in the year, and I think that's the way we kind of get back to it. Estime is obviously the guy. He's probably the best running back in the country at this, right now. But we still have three other guys in that room that can
Mm.
make things happen, and help that offense get going off it. And also with our offensive line, like we gotta make sure we're keeping them guys involved and letting them be physical and let them be good at the things they're good at. Um, but really, because I mean, right now our receivers aren't making the plays we need them to make, so we got to rely on our run game and then just have obviously try to use Sam Hartman for what he's really good at, and that's throwing the deep ball. Take those shots, take those play action shots over top. Getting guys like Tobias Merriweather involved. Let him try to go up and make some plays. Mitchell Evans, obviously, trying to get him back out there and making more plays down the field. My boy Chris Tyree, letting him run fast and catch some deep balls. And so I think that's the big thing right now. Obviously, we would love to have Jaden, the Jaden's back, to kind of get some more versatility on the outside. But right now, I mean, I think we've kind of been talking about it on this podcast a lot, but the receivers have to hit that point where they're just going to have to kind of step up and be like, hey, this is our time, and so it has to be. I mean, it has to be one guy or maybe two, but somebody in that room has to be like, hey, like we gotta change this up right now.
Right. Pitt hasn't exactly been an exciting bunch, and
Yeah,
their secondary is a group that can definitely be attacked by these receivers. That's the big thing for me, CJ, is that we've watched so many games this season. that there's been a lack of involvement. Mitchell Evans has been fantastic, but we
Mhm.
haven't really found who is that guy on third and medium, third and long that's going to bring that ball down and make a big play as a receiver. We just don't have that guy right now. And maybe after the bye week, it's that learning opportunity and feeling yourself out type of an
Mhm.
opportunity to figure out who are those guys. And I know that there's been some reshuffling in the depth chart for the receivers. So maybe that is what is going to be figured out coming out of this bye. I also think you talked about the running backs. Audric Estime started off the season really hot. We know that he's a big bruising presence up the middle. And we know that his impact can be felt on those short yardage situations when they want to set the tone early on in the game. But I don't know about you, but I feel like we should start to see more of Jeremiah Love. I loved watching him in games, especially against Ohio State, when they've gotten him involved. He is a guy who can kill you in space. He's got great burst, great feet. And I feel like with how sluggish this offense has been, without all those athletes on the outside, when things aren't working up the middle, trying to pound it with Audric Estime, why don't we keep going back to him and attacking guys in space? I feel like they should start doing more of that. Maybe they will this game.
And then I think that was really frustrating for me because we have four good running backs, and Jeremiah Love he's probably out of the four of them, he's probably the most explosive. But and then not to mention Jadarian Price, who's also ridiculously explosive as we already saw from the other week, and then was it Jadarian Payne? Jadarian Payne, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so all I mean, all obviously they're all young, and they want to. You could kind of tell after that down at the Ohio State game, they wanted to feed Estimate to try to maybe get him out of school, maybe so he can get up out of here for next year. And you can kind of I can feel it, maybe not obviously as a fan point, you might not be able to see it, but um for me, it's frustrating because it's like we got these guys. Let's use them. Let's use them for what they're good at. Let's get Jeremiah Love out in space and let him be explosive until he can build his body up, and then all of a sudden he can start running in between the tackles. But let's use them all for what they're good at. Even if they're in for one play, put them in for one play, run outside zone, get them out, take Price in, let him run the other way, then put Estime in, let him run it down the middle. It's like we have these guys. Let's not just have them sit on the sideline, and especially since our offense has been real stale, like very stale. Let's try to let's try to get our playmakers involved and get them the ball in space.
Right. I think that's the really good way to put it. It seems like it feels like the approach is just banging your head against the wall and hoping
Yeah,
eventually it's going to work. It quite literally is that. We have watched Audric Estime run into
run.
a giant mass of bodies and then hope that something's going to open up. And we have this kid in Jeremiah Love. I know he's a freshman, but every time I watch him and I've broken his film down, the guy is electric. And sometimes
Right.
you need that spark when you're playing this really tight end heavy condensed offense to find
Mhm.
ways to create, opportunities in space. I'm just curious, like from your perspective, being a running back, w- w- how does it maybe help you if you're Audric Estime, knowing that you've got another guy that can be a different style of player to provide an impact?
Well, I mean, for one, I mean, obviously, as a competitor, you're like, I want these touches. I want to be able to, I want to be the guy who opens it up. But I think, when you start to really look at the game of football and understand it, you're like, if this guy, if I go in there, I get 2, 3 for the first couple of series, and then this guy, gets an outside zone, breaks one for 15, and then I get back in there going for 4, 5,
Mm,
6, 7s. Those starts to add up, and then but then you also understand like your health wise, like you're not taking as much of that pounding. Like you're doing what you're good at. Like Audrey Estimate, he's good at getting his foot in the ground, getting uphill, and making breaking tackles. He's not good when he's not as good when he has to run outside. Run outside the tackles. But Jeremiah Love, he gets out when he gets out in space. He is electric. He can move any type of way, any type of move. So just having that difference in this, just for one as a defense, like they can't. It's hard for they can't just cue in on. They can't put 7 in the box. Be like, oh yeah, we're gonna stack it and estimate run up the middle. No, y'all put 7 in the box. He take out on the outside. He might take it on the edge and just be gone
mm.
on you. So you just need that versatility as far as the run game because especially when you have to rely on it like we do right now because if you just running it with the bruiser, like everybody know what you're gonna do. Is just put 7, put 6, 7 in the box, and then just have the corners playing man to man because the receivers aren't going to create any space. So, you know, I think we just gotta use what we got. Let's stop making it so stale. Let's just use what we
Right.
got, basically.
CJ, last thought before we wrap here on today's show. They're playing Clemson next game after this Pitt one. And I know that the way that we've kind of phrased this preview is making us think, oh, Pitt's a slam dunk. And it's the theme of what we've talked about indirectly. You're coming off of this emotional dump type of a game, going into a bye week. The mentality needs to be right against a team like Pitt.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you can get caught off guard. So my final thought here is Clemson the next week. How do you in practice make sure in the week leading up to Pitt that you don't look too far ahead to that Clemson game? Because that is starting to become a rivalry. And that game
yeah,
is really important, not only for Notre Dame, but for Dabo Swinney, who is trying to fight for relevance right now as his season is falling off the track. So,
yeah.
from your perspective, how do you think they need to stay focused?
I mean, right now we can't even think about Clemson. It's like as far as the team wise, they got to just stay focused on Pitt. Um, and even though Clemson is a prestigious team, a top team. I mean, this year you're not looking at them as that, honestly. So, I mean, maybe years past, uh, you're thinking like, oh man, we kind of we want to blow Pitt out so we can start resting for Clemson, but coming after a bye week, already having two losses. I think right now them guys are focused on the next game, the next moment. I'm sure like they probably. I mean, I'm sure they know Clemson's next week, but I'm sure that there's nobody even thinking about that game
Mm.
until Saturday's over, for sure.
Well, we'll be rooting for the Fighting Irish this weekend at
Absolutely.
home against Pitt. Coming up,
Hmm.
we have a conversation, CJ, that you had with Isaiah Stewart, a former Pitt wide receiver. Folks, stay tuned. We
Okay.
will be right back.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Lucky Underdogs podcast, sponsored by Believe Network and Bally Sports. I got a special guest this week, man. My boy Isaiah Stewart, former Pitt receiver, and we back, man. We back. We talking Notre Dame Pitt this week. So, man, I'm glad to have you on. It's a pleasure to have you on, my guy.
Man, it's a blessing to even be on, man. I appreciate it.
Oh man, it was lovely, lovely, man. We happy to have you, man. So we definitely gonna get into some of the Notre Dame Pitt, kind of the backstory, the game plan. Some of the stuff is going on with the game. Obviously, as players, we like to call it a rivalry because every
Mm,
time we play y'all, we know what time it is. We know like y'all coming with it. Y'all come with that heat.
yeah,
Y'all know y'all gonna play as hard as y'all possibly can, and we know we got to come out and play our best game. If we don't, we gonna lose.
yeah,
Um, we know that every time we play y'all. So
yeah, no,
let's talk about right now. So we got so y'all beat Louisville and we lost to Louisville,
yeah.
and so how we how so we thinking that that's giving us the y'all giving that's giving y'all the upper hand, or how we feeling about that? How we feeling?
Well, Pitt is regardless of the record, we compete. Like
Mhm.
we're a
Absolutely.
very competitive team, no matter what, because we know at the end of the day, we know who we are. At least the players, you know what I'm saying. Like I respect each and every player for what they do and for the position that they play because they give their hearts every play, no matter what.
Absolutely.
Like all right, they mess up one time, they blow a coverage. Who cares? They gonna hop back up the next play and be dogs about it. So I'm never gonna question any player at Pittsburgh because they dogs. Everybody dogs. But if I gotta say, that Louisville game, what Louisville was 14? Yeah, they we packed them up. We got to pack them up. They had to go, but that's credit to Christian. The quarterback. His last name gets me
Mhm.
every time. I think it's Valaire. Christian Valaire. He's very impressive with everything that he's doing. As a
Yeah.
backup quarterback coming in and throwing for over 200 yards, and then MJ Devonshire. He's going to do what he does on defense.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive, as a backup quarterback coming in against a hot Louisville team to,
Mhm.
pass against them. My boy Bub Memes went a little crazy on, had to score a touchdown,
Yeah.
shout
Yeah.
out to the receiver fan. But yeah, I was really, impressed with, how they perform, because Louisville was like what, 6-1 at the time, 14.
Mhm.
They were very impressive, but I gotta give it to my pit man, H2P.
Yeah, man. No, I kind of caught a little end of that game when I was watching us play USC, but I was watching the end of that game. And I'm like, dang, like Louisville gonna lose, lose to beat us. Like I was real hot. Like I'm like, dang, y'all just gonna lose the week after. But like,
You put
I
a
mean,
parlay. You put a parlay in for
I
that.
wish I did. You feel me? Like, but not like it was. That game when we lost to Louisville, man, it was a we had such a it was such an emotional. We had two real emotional games before they played Ohio State. We played Duke, and then we just came out against Louisville so flat. And like it's basically like any given Saturday. Just like how Louisville came out against us hyped up. They had Jack Harlow at the game. The game was stupid hype.
Yeah, it
And
was
then
like,
next week they go to whatever they play y'all, and that they might not have that same energy. They thinking like, oh, Pitt's like whatever y'all were 1-4 at the time or 1-5, and they like, oh yeah, we about to come in here and we about to win this one easy, and
they
then all
gonna
of a
whoop our,
sudden,
gonna kick our
boom.
butts or something,
You feel
right?
me? Yeah, like so. I mean, that just goes to show you, man. It's any given Saturday. It don't matter who you play. You got to show up and play because, man, like just because you won last week and you beat whoever, top 10, top 15, the next you can come in and play a team who ain't even ranked or who struggling, injuries or whatever going on with them, and then all of a sudden, boom, you lost
Right.
because you playing around or you kind of you don't have that same energy. So
Yeah.
definitely man, that's so I for us, man, it's we don't obviously we don't look we're not gonna look at like the Louisville loss as like something that's gonna push us for this game. But as
Yeah.
far as like we play against y'all, we know what like I said earlier, we know what time it is, man. We know like if we don't come to play, we gonna lose the game. Like
Yeah.
and
Like,
I think I lost maybe once. I think I lost twice against y'all, maybe like
oh
because
wow.
we. I think no, I think it was once we lost. Final of the game was like 10 like 13-10. Pitt
Word.
took us like 3 overtimes, and we were supposed to blow them out. It was crazy. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, like that.
I just
Every
think
time playing against Pitt, it's like we gotta bring it because if you don't, you're gonna lose.
Yeah, I think that Louisville game just like goes to show like you can't take your foot off the gas with Pittsburgh. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Like I feel like if you do like think that a record shows how good somebody is, it's just like you just can't do that because you're gonna let up. And as soon as you
Yeah.
let up, Pittsburgh's gonna just punch you in the mouth because you can't
Mm-hmm.
take your foot off the gas with Pitt for real. So yeah, I agree for sure, bro. For sure.
Appreciate you, my dog. And everybody else, I appreciate y'all. Have a good one. We
Thanks for
out of
tuning
here.
in.